Welcome to Backyard Bows. Hey, welcome to Backyard Bows. I'm Brandon, and today we got our first Darton up here. This is kind of when I feel like I'm the luckiest, you know. So this is the reason why I love to do this. I've never shot a Darton and don't know much about it. So when I finally got a hold of one of the reps, man, I had a million questions because I was just so intrigued. I've heard of Darton and just didn't know much about it. So first off, the rep that I did get a hold of, and this doesn't happen with every company, but he was very pleasant to chat on the phone with, answered all my questions, great customer service. I love that because that's not what I receive at, at the end of every, when I reach out to companies to kind of get a little micro interview about a certain bow for that year, that's not always the feedback I get. So Corey Miller, I think he's the Montana rep, man, he was awesome. He's the one who sent me this bow. So let's jump right in because there's a lot. First, he sent me the dark earth color, which I love. It's like a really, really dark buckskin or mountain tan. But I love the color. I love the color schemes that they have on their website too. So there was like maybe 9 or 10 colors overall. Then you can mix or match, risers with limbs. So they gave me the dark earth riser with the black limbs, but man, there was a ton of different color schemes that you could do, which I love. I also love the specs on this bow. So, they went from the Maverick and the Spectra last year, same bow, different cam systems, different price. They wanted to kind of separate them a little bit more, so they redesigned the entire Spectra bow, from the coating they put on it, from the riser design, cams, limb pockets, limbs, everything. Entire new bow. I think the only thing that they said was the same as the string cables that they use. So I love the new design. I love the riser. Man, it is as solid as you can get. I love the finish on it too, this powder coated finish. Man, it's just really, really sleek. I think they did a good job with that. I always love a nice wide limb pockets and limbs, which kind of, creates that really just wide platform, which helps with the sturdiness and kind of that stable full draw, 32 inches axle to axle. It's the only one it comes with, so it's the Spectra E 32. Around a 6.5 inch brace height. It's right under, it's pretty much 5 pounds, which some guys consider heavy. It's on the heavier side, but I like a bow with substance, so that doesn't bother me at all. Again, the weight factor, it just varies on what you're hunting. If you're out in the West and you're climbing mountains and hiking a bunch with your bow, you might want a lighter bow. But me, I hike a half mile, mile in, and my bow gets hung up on a bow hanger until something walks in front of my face. So I like a nice weighted bow. I think it helps with the, also with, in full draw with how steady you can hold the bow. So the draw length goes from 25.5 out to 31. And it comes in a 40, 50, 60, 70 pound options with a 10 pound fluctuation. They actually, which it's not online, but they actually do have an 80 pound option for those of you who like that heavier weight for bigger game. It might not come with as many colors, but they do have that option. And then 85% let off across the board. So, where to begin? I love the limb and limb pockets. If you look up underneath, again, anywhere where they're anchored in so that they can't move back and forth is ideal to me. I love the entire setup right here. It reminds me of kind of the Hoyt, limb pocket where the limbs meet the riser. Just really sturdy. I love that. I love the limbs too. Everything is nice and wide. The only thing on it that kind of stood out to me that I'm just not sure about, and maybe after we get to shooting a whole bunch, I'll kind of change my opinion on it. I like, the grip is just thick. So it's thick this way. I feel like it's just made for a bigger hand. And I have kind of those medium-sized hands, but it felt really, really thick in my hand. So we'll see. And sometimes that grip kind of changes for me. The only other thing that stood out to me was I don't know why they wouldn't put kind of a ball bearing cable guard system on there. They just have one of those, the plastic on the rod, which seems more budget bow to me. That's kind of what we see on the budget bows. I feel like it would have been easy to just create a really nice cable guard, but that's what they went with. So everything else on it though is as flagship as you can get, all the way up to these E-cams. So something Darton has done, which they've been around for 70 years, is that they have patented tons of different cam systems and they really have just leased them out to different bow companies. But the E cams is something that they held on to themselves, and it's what they're using, which I love. And it looks, honestly, the first glance, it looked very complicated. It kind of looks like there's 3 layers, so 2 modules in one cam system, but that's not the case. So the middle section here is where you rotate to get your draw length. And then what is, what they're claiming creates the most, stability out of this cam system is that there are 3 anchor points to the cable. So there's 1 on the module, and then there's 2 on the outside of the axles. So it takes away from the load on the cams, and it kind of distributes it over 3 different points, which that is, in full draw, I feel just by looking at it, that's going to create a very stable platform. So, where this U comes, and let's say on PSCs where it just comes down and attaches on the other side of the cam, it actually splits. You got a split yoke, and that goes to the outside of the axles, and that's where it anchors in. So there's 3 different points of anchoring. But it's a really nice, sturdy system. I think this cam is as nice as you can get. Like I said, it looks complicated, but kind of once you dive into it, it was really easy to tune. It was really simple to get the timing right. You got string stops on top and bottom, and then you have a limb stop option for just on top. Or you can use all 3, so you can get the timing down right, and then, in a press, you can add your limb stop, and so you can really get a nice, solid, stable back wall. So that's where we are. I'm so excited to get outside and sling some of these. Again, this is not something that I had a ton of experience with, and anything new just really excites me. So we're gonna really get after it today, even though it's hot. We're gonna shoot all day and try to get a really accurate review for you guys at the end with the grading. So another thing, it has 2 spots for your rest, which again, that's like something that I think is a must, where you can put 2 screws in. It just really makes that rest nice and sturdy. Let's get to shooting. I'm gonna we'll shoot a couple in here. We'll do our single shot assessment. And then what we'll do, I got a brand new set of full metal jackets, and we will get outside and shoot some. So one thing I gotta do is I'm gonna add this here back in the bottom, which I couldn't get it in my, okay. So they do have 2 dampeners, 1 on top and bottom. I like the material. When it came to me, they were almost all the way touching the limb and limb pockets. But man, this is, so let's go ahead and do some shots here inside. Man, the grip, so we all have different hand shapes, sizes. So the grip obviously is a very preference aspect of the bow. This one is a little thick. For the pad of your hand, I do like, I think it's a good, thinness, but it is thick. I mean, it is, it's made for a bigger hand, I feel like. And then again, another thing that's noticeable is when it's all dressed up, I mean, it's a little bit heavier bow than what we're used to seeing, but again, I love that. I like a bow with substance is what I say, but I like something that's nice and solid. So let's go ahead. So first, the draw, it just has a couple different layers to it. So, and you can feel them a hair. So it transitions from one to the next, and I'm gonna associate that with the cam systems, the cables, the way everything's set up. Is it just, it starts and then right there it kind of pulls again, and then it kind of releases. So there's a couple different layers to that draw. But it's a firm draw. So, I say it's 70 pounds, feels like 70 pounds. Which again, that's not a problem to me. But it is a nice firm draw, and you kind of got to get over a little hump in the middle. But what you notice is when it does lock out in full draw, it's really nice and solid, has a really nice back wall. And you can tell that this thing is going to, this is another one where I'm kind of excited for that chronograph test. This thing's gonna pump an arrow. You can just kind of tell the strength of a bow. You know, and then the other thing that I think is, you know, it's kind of what they're advertising, and that's kind of some of the things I pay the most attention to, but man, it really does. In full draw, once you get all set up, it balances nice. Once you get there, I mean, it's rock solid. Doesn't want to move around on you at all. It's really easy to get that sight to level out, and then once it does get leveled out, it wants to stay there, which I love. You know, it's like once you get there, you don't have to pay attention to it. It just kind of sits right there. And I'm going to say that has to do with the anchoring points of these cables. You know, that makes sense to me. So, yeah, super solid in full draw. I love that. Little bit of vibration in the hand. But other than that, I mean, it's a powerful bow. Now let's shoot one more, and then I'm ready to sling some arrows. Yeah, I love it. And I feel like also, you know, the weight distribution of each riser is a hair different. And even though most risers look the same or very similar, man, they're all so different in the way that weight distributes itself, which is something I really like with this one. So let's go outside, let's get after it. Let's get to shooting. All right, we switched it up a little bit. I moved some of the 3D targets around, just different places. So we'll do the boar and the buck over here, 30 and 35, or 25 and 30 yards. And I'm just gonna get to shooting. I'm too excited to shoot this, so we'll get to shooting and we'll circle back to. Man, this thing, sometimes it's harder to see than others, but you can kind of see, especially when you get out to like 50 yards, you know, the arc of the arrow, and then this thing is just, it shoots missiles. And something else I just mentioned in there, but like, you know, the standing weight of the bow distribution, sometimes, you know, sometimes it feels a little top heavy, and that's kind of what this feels, but then in full draw, it balances out real nice. But man, I love the shot cycle with these E-cams. It's really clean and it's really quick. Let's go ahead, we'll get over to that buck. I moved the turkey to the other side because the trees were getting so big they started blocking the view of the turkey. So let's go buck. So now let's do the coyote, which is at 35 yards, kind of angled across the yard. So we put all of the 3D targets with some kind of backdrop behind. It's a little hill that kind of wraps around the yard, a little berm. So in case you do miss, you know, it's going into something. Man, this thing, wow, I'm impressed. Let's go shoot some longer range ones. So we'll go turkey now. Turkey, broadhead, buck, bear. Then we'll jump up to the elk. So turkey here at 25-yard shot. So the draw cycle, it's a little stiff, it's a little tough to get back. Pure preference for what this thing potentially is going to be shooting inside, which I'm thinking it's going to be in the 290, mid 290s. I mean, you can just tell these things are flying off of here. So that's where you kind of sacrifice some a little bit. You can really tell while loading them limbs, you know, you can tell it in the draw cycle, but it's not bad by any means. It's just, you know, I might not be able to shoot this bow as much. You get a little bit more tired, you know, kind of shooting an entire day. Not gonna nearly get as many with this as I was maybe the Solution SS or something that was easy to pull. So let's go broadhead buck. But I think the thing that I like the best and that I look for the most is in full draw, how solid, how steady can you hold that bow comfortably? And man, it's an effort to get it back, but the back wall's nice once it sets up, and it dials down better than most of the bows that we've reviewed. The nice wide platform, the 3 anchor points from the cables. I think, man, this thing is just, I love these cams, these E-cams. Let's go one more on the buck, and then we'll go to the bear. But I mean, just really, really solid. Right from the beginning, consistency is what my thought. Consistency and speed. I mean, this is a brute of a bow. Quality, you know, is exceptional. And then you can just tell it's just really, really solid, really solid. Little bit heavy. But I think that helps with this, you know, how stable this is, and the stability of it. I think that kind of plays into effect. We'll go to the bear. Oh gosh, man, I'm gonna say it. These are some of the best first shots I've taken with any bow this year. Let's go one more on the bear, and then we'll go up to that elk, which I'm excited about. Let's go to the elk. So before we get to the 50-yard, I'm gonna say I'm pleasantly surprised. So I really don't know what to expect. When I haven't shot a bow from a certain bow company, I have no idea what to expect. I love that Darton sent us this. This is probably one of my favorites from this year. I understand with so many bow companies competing, it's hard for bow companies or bow shops to distinguish what bows they're gonna carry. They obviously wanna carry what is in high demand. But ever since Black Eagle, you know, bought Darton a couple years ago, I think their decision to really start trying to compete and put out those high quality bows was a great decision, because I have a feeling we're gonna see these more in a bow shop, you know, over the next couple years. This is a fantastic bow, absolutely fantastic. Love shooting this. First shots on the elk at 50. I'm gonna raise that just a little bit. But man, like I mentioned earlier, you can see there's no arc to these arrows. They are just on a string. But consistency, I can get this thing steady at full draw immediately, and it just locks in. It's incredible. It's incredible. I haven't talked about my lineup in a while, but Darton, you might have just made the cut. I don't think, and I'm kind of shooting these quick, and something I kind of do is just kind of quick shots, but man, I don't think I've had a bow lock out and dial in like this one. And I'm tired, you know, so that's the only thing. We've been shooting it. I'm getting more and more tired. But this right here, Darton, I'm glad you guys made the decision to go back to the drawing board and give us something new. Awesome bow by Darton Archery. All right, so I've been waiting for this. I've been thinking about it all day. You can tell when a bow is really pumping an arrow, and man, this one all day has just been shooting missiles. So I'm excited to see what this is gonna get. So 29.5-inch draw, 70 pounds, 85% let off, 500 grain arrow. 307. I knew it. I just had this feeling. Man, you can just tell. This thing is an absolute beast. I mean, that is so fast for my specs. 314. Oh my gosh. Man, it's like if you shoot enough bows, you can just tell, just in the draw cycle, when those limbs are loaded and just loading them, you can just tell. I mean, this thing is, .303, so well over the threes. That's incredible. Let's do just one more. Impressive, impressive. I didn't necessarily anticipate over 3, but I was thinking in the 290s, mid 290s for sure, so that's awesome. 306, wow. All right, cool. Let's, we're gonna put a grade together. This thing is obviously gonna be top tier. But give me a second, we'll throw it together and we'll circle back. All right, so grading. Darton Spectra E32. Awesome bow, had a blast shooting it over the weekend. Grew on me. Man, sometimes you first get a bow, you know, you're not attracted to it necessarily. I dressed it up, liked it more and more, shot it all day, fell in love with this thing by the end of the day. So off the bat, surprisingly, 300s, 500 grain arrow, 85% let off, 70 pounds, 29.5-inch draw. That blew me away. I was thinking maybe mid 90s. And again, you can always tell when loading those limbs to just even watching the flight of the arrow, like if a bow is pumping an arrow. And man, this thing, you could just tell that it was hammering. So 300s, I think it was like 306. That's awesome. So right off the bat, gets 2 extra makeup points, so it gets 12 out of 10 to start. Great start. Quality, 8 out of 10. Little plastic cable guard sliding on the rod, that wasn't my favorite. Everything else on the bow is very, very nice and sturdy. The quality is exceptional. The rise of the new powder coat finish on it, very, very clean. I love the quality of this bow. You know, something else that they advertised is that there's 0 flex. So from full spectrum of draw weight, draw length, you get 0 flex in the bow, which is obviously makes it a little bit easier to tune. But quality, 8 out of 10. Appeal, 9 out of 10. Loved it dressed up. Loved the black limbs with this dark earth color. Had a black sight, black stabilizer. It just looked really good. I love the way my bows look. So fully set up, loved it. I love all the different color options and schemes that you can do with the limbs and the riser. So it got a 9 out of 10 there. 9 out of 10 for the technology. These E-cams, man, I think these are some of the best cams. So they look very, very complicated, but they were actually very, very easy to tune and get the timing right. So don't be scared of that. You know, they look like they have a lot to them, and they do, but it's a very simple system to work with. And man, it makes sense that it would stay in tuned a little bit longer. I mean, it just has 3 different axis points, 3 different anchor points on the axis, and then the cam system. Very solid. I mean, advertised to a T, super solid in full draw. So we'll get into that. So 9 out of 10 for the technology. Love the cams. 9 out of 10 for performance. This thing was advertised perfectly. I mean, it is the most stable, one of the most stable, if not the most, in full draw, and really that's what it all boils down to. You throw everything else out, that's what you're looking for. How sturdy can you hold this thing in full draw, and how long can you hold it in that, in that position? This was one of the top ones. I mean, I shot amazing with this from the first arrow to the last. It was consistent. I felt like the bow was doing the work and that I had very little input into it, and I love that. So Darton, thank you for sending me this awesome bow. 49 out of 50, which gives it did get to make up 2 extra points because it's 1,050, which is a little bit lower than some of these flagship bows that we've seen, but it is a top tier flagship bow. I'm excited to see what they're going to do in the future. Now that they got bought out by Black Eagle, and I think they're going to revamp some of these bows and keep producing some really nice bows here. So if you haven't looked into them, check them out. Get a bow in your hand. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. So I got a 49, which gives it a 98 out of 100. The only other bow that got that is the Encore from Elite. Great score, but I think it deserves it. I love that they went back and kind of created a whole new bow. I love that. So don't buy a bow off a single bow review. Get in a bow shop, get as many bows in your hands as you can. Above all, make sure you get your reps in on the daily. Follow us on Instagram for different bows that we're going to be releasing soon. We have a new basic bowman series coming out here soon for anybody who's interested in getting into a shop and buying their first bow. You know, obviously subscribe to the channel. If you found anything in this video that was helpful, get your reps in. See you next Saturday.